Imagine waking up one morning and realizing your legs, once your foundation for independence, now tremble with every step. Not from age, but from neglect. Not from destiny, but from decisions. I once treated a 67-year-old patient named James. A former firefighter, proud and strong, now struggling to climb a single flight of stairs. "Doc," he said, "I feel like my legs have betrayed me." But as I looked deeper, it wasn't betrayal, it was a silent cry from his body, asking for something most of us forget: the right fuel. If you're over 40 and noticing weakness, cramps, or balance issues, not just in your legs, but in your energy, your confidence, this is not just aging. It's biology demanding your attention. The truth is, you can reclaim vitality. With the right nutrients, your legs don't have to grow weaker with time, they can grow stronger. In this video, we're going to unravel the 7 most essential vitamins and minerals your body desperately needs to keep your legs strong, agile, and free from pain. But more than that, we'll rediscover what it means to stand tall again, both physically and emotionally. Stick with me. Your second youth might just begin with your legs. The 7 vital nutrients that keep your legs strong, stable, and pain-free. 1. Vitamin D. As we age, vitamin D becomes less of a nice-to-have and more of a non-negotiable. Often labeled as the sunshine vitamin, it's responsible for more than just lifting your mood. Vitamin D is deeply involved in muscle strength, nerve signaling, and bone mineral density, 3 things you can't afford to lose if you want to walk with power and stability. In my clinical years, I saw a consistent pattern. Older patients with frequent falls, chronic leg pain, or sluggish reflexes almost always had low vitamin D levels. Why? Because skin thins with age, and our capacity to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight drops dramatically, especially for those who spend more time indoors. It's no coincidence that many hip fractures happen not during sports or outdoor hikes, but simply while getting out of bed or rising from a chair. Vitamin D helps regulate fast-twitch muscle fibers, the same ones that snap into action when you're about to trip and need to regain balance. It's your body's internal airbag. Without enough of it, even the most basic movements become a risk. Best sources: morning sunlight, fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, fortified dairy, and vitamin D3 supplements, usually 800 to 1000 IU daily for adults over 50. 2. Calcium. When people think of calcium, they think bones. But that's only part of the story. Calcium also helps your muscles contract efficiently, whether you're walking to your mailbox or hiking Yosemite. Without it, your muscles don't just weaken, they misfire. That means tremors, spasms, or worse, debilitating cramps that wake you up at 2 a.m. in agony. One of my patients, Linda, a retired high school teacher, suffered from leg cramps so intense she'd cry during appointments. Her labs? Borderline low calcium and near zero vitamin D. With the right intake and movement plan, she was back to gardening within 3 months. Best sources: dairy products, leafy greens, bok choy, kale, tofu, sardines with bones, fortified almond, or oat milk. Key tip: always pair calcium with vitamin D. They work best as a team, like a lock and key. And don't forget weight-bearing exercises. Even brisk walking tells your bones to stay strong. 3. Vitamin B12. If your legs feel heavy, tingling, or uncoordinated, B12 might be the missing piece. Vitamin B12 is crucial for nerve health. It coats your nerves in a protective sheath and ensures electrical signals travel efficiently from your brain to your muscles. As we age, our stomach produces less acid, which means we absorb B12 poorly, even if we eat the right foods. In fact, in many seniors, B12 deficiency is mistaken for dementia or muscle atrophy. I once worked with a 74-year-old man who thought he was losing his mind and his strength. We tested his B12. It was alarmingly low. Within 6 weeks of supplementation, his memory improved and he was back on his bike. Best sources: shellfish, clams, oysters, beef liver, eggs, dairy, and fortified cereals. Vegetarians or those with absorption issues may need high-dose oral supplements or monthly injections. 4. Magnesium. Magnesium is the unsung hero of leg health. It plays a key role in over 300 biochemical reactions in your body, but its impact on muscle relaxation and cramp prevention is most noticeable. Low magnesium can trigger a phenomenon many older adults know too well: nighttime leg cramps. These aren't just annoying, they're a red flag. They signal neuromuscular imbalance and electrolyte issues that, left unchecked, can lead to weakness and instability. What's fascinating is how quickly people feel better once their magnesium levels are restored. I had a patient who walked with a cane for 2 years due to calf cramps. Within a month of magnesium supplementation, she was able to sleep through the night and eventually ditch the cane. Best sources: pumpkin seeds, almonds, spinach, black beans, avocados, and whole grains. If supplementing, magnesium glycinate or citrate is often better tolerated and more easily absorbed. 5. Potassium. Potassium works hand in hand with magnesium and calcium to regulate muscle contractions and nerve signaling. Think of it as your body's electrolyte stabilizer. Low potassium doesn't just cause cramps. It causes a sense of fatigue and fragility that sneaks up on people. Many seniors I've treated thought their shaky legs or constant need to sit down was just part of aging. In many cases, it was an easily corrected potassium imbalance. A balanced potassium intake also helps prevent bone loss by buffering acids in the bloodstream. It's like giving your bones a layer of extra protection every day. Best sources: bananas are okay, but the real champions are sweet potatoes, oranges, spinach, beans, and baked potatoes with skin on. Most people need 2,600 to 3,400 milligrams per day, but those with kidney or heart conditions should consult a doctor before increasing potassium. 6. Vitamin K. This one surprises many people. Vitamin K doesn't just help with blood clotting. It's vital for bone metabolism. It directs calcium to the bones, where it belongs, and keeps it out of arteries and joints, where it causes stiffness and pain. The magic lies in a protein called osteocalcin. Vitamin K activates it, allowing calcium to bond to your skeleton. Without it, you could take all the calcium in the world and still have fragile bones. In practice, I've seen elderly patients with persistent knee pain who got relief within weeks after increasing vitamin K, particularly from leafy greens and fermented foods. Best sources: kale, spinach, Swiss chard, natto, fermented soy, aged cheese, and egg yolks. If you're on blood thinners, consult your physician before changing your K intake. 7. Vitamin B6. Last but far from least, vitamin B6. Often overlooked, this vitamin is essential for protein metabolism, neurotransmitter function, and the production of red blood cells. Without it, your muscles don't get the oxygen they need, and that leads to premature fatigue. A 58-year-old client of mine, a former long-distance runner, told me she could barely make it down her driveway without feeling wiped. Blood work showed B6 deficiency. After adjusting her diet and adding a supplement, she was back to walking a mile a day within 3 weeks. Best sources: tuna, salmon, chicken breast, chickpeas, bananas, and fortified cereals. The recommended intake for adults over 50 is around 1.5 to 1.7 milligrams per day. Why leg health declines after 40? If you've ever wondered why your legs don't feel as steady or energized in your 50s as they did in your 30s, you're not imagining it. And it's not just getting old. It's biology, and it's surprisingly fixable if you understand what's really going on beneath the skin. By the time we hit 40, a gradual but measurable decline in muscle mass begins, a process known as sarcopenia. Unlike the dramatic muscle loss that comes from injury or illness, sarcopenia creeps in slowly, often going unnoticed until one day climbing the stairs feels like scaling a mountain. Without intervention, the average person loses up to 8% of muscle mass per decade after 40, and that number accelerates past 60. But it's not just the muscles. Your bones are also in silent retreat. Bone remodeling, a natural process where old bone is replaced with new, slows down significantly. This leads to reduced bone density, making the legs more prone to stress fractures and breaks, especially in the hips and femur. Equally important, but far less discussed, is the nervous system. Neuromuscular efficiency begins to decline with age. That means the brain's messages to your muscles take a little longer to arrive. Reflexes slow. Balance falters. Movements that were once instinctual, like catching yourself from a trip, become risky or impossible. This lag in nerve-muscle communication can be the difference between staying upright and suffering a debilitating fall. Hormonal changes compound the issue. Declines in testosterone, growth hormone, and estrogen affect both muscle repair and bone health. Even your mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses in your cells, begin to function less efficiently, sapping energy and endurance from your muscles. Adding insult to injury, many people over 40 become more sedentary due to work demands, family obligations, or simple fatigue. But inactivity only accelerates the loss of muscle and bone, setting off a vicious cycle of weakness, imbalance, and increased fall risk. I've had countless patients who assumed their leg fatigue or stiffness was just part of aging. In reality, their symptoms were largely driven by preventable deficiencies and lifestyle choices. The good news? This decline isn't inevitable. With the right nutrients, consistent movement, and targeted interventions, you can reverse much of the damage and restore power, stability, and confidence to your legs. Your legs aren't giving up on you. They've just been running on an empty tank, and it's time to refill it wisely. Let me share 4 real-world stories, powerful examples of how the right nutrients and a little guidance can transform weak, aching legs into pillars of strength once again. Story: James, 67, from firefighter to fragile, and back again. James wasn't just any retiree, he was a former firefighter. A man who once ran into burning buildings was now struggling to walk across his living room without holding onto furniture. His confidence had eroded along with his strength, and the shame he felt was palpable. He came to me complaining of weak legs, frequent cramping, and exhaustion after the smallest effort. After reviewing his labs, it was clear his vitamin D levels were critically low, and his calcium absorption was impaired. But more importantly, James had stopped going outside. His fear of falling had kept him indoors, where muscle atrophy quietly took over. We started with the basics: 20 minutes of morning sun, a daily D3 supplement, 1000 IU, and a calcium-rich diet. We added low-impact strength training twice a week, nothing intense, just resistance bands and stair-stepping. 3 months later, James walked into my clinic unaided and with a smile. "I feel like myself again," he said. He wasn't training for marathons, but he no longer feared the stairs in his own home. That's victory. Story: Linda, 72, crippled by cramps, freed by magnesium. Linda had always been active. A former high school teacher, she loved dancing and gardening until her legs started betraying her at night. "It's like my calves are being twisted in knots," she told me. These nightly cramps robbed her of sleep and wore down her mental health. What many don't know is how common magnesium deficiency becomes after 60, especially in women. A closer look at Linda's medications revealed she was on a diuretic for blood pressure, which can quietly deplete magnesium levels. We started her on a magnesium glycinate supplement, a form easy on the gut, and upped her intake of leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, and avocados. Within 10 days, the cramps vanished. Not reduced, gone. She returned 2 months later, rested and radiant. "I'm sleeping again," document. "And I danced at my niece's wedding." That moment reminded me how something as small as a mineral can reclaim joy from the shadows. Story: Rick, 61, shaky legs, and a surprising B12 turnaround. Rick was convinced he had early Parkinson's. His legs felt like jelly, he wobbled when walking, and he had frequent pins and needles sensations in his feet. "I feel like I'm unplugged from my own legs," he explained. Instead of rushing to conclusions, we ran a series of tests. His MRI was clean, but his B12 levels were shockingly low. Rick had been using acid reflux medications for years, which reduced his stomach acid. Unbeknownst to him, that meant he could no longer absorb B12 from food. We began a regimen of weekly B12 injections and transitioned him to fortified foods and sublingual tablets. Within 6 weeks, his strength improved and the tingling eased. He wasn't imagining things. His body was just missing a crucial nutrient. Let me leave you with a thought, one I've shared with hundreds of patients who sat across from me, discouraged, aching, and feeling like their best years were behind them. Aging is not a diagnosis. Feeling tired, losing balance, or having weak legs isn't the problem. It's the symptom. And behind it often lies a solvable issue: silent deficiencies, years of nutrient neglect, or habits we never knew were harming us. But here's the truth. Your body is not broken. It's brilliant. It's adaptive. It's still listening to how you treat it, even now. I've watched 60-year-olds regain the strength they had in their 40s, not through extreme workouts or fad diets, but by giving their bodies what they were quietly begging for all along: vitamin D to spark their muscles, magnesium to relax them, B12 to reconnect brain and body, potassium, calcium, B6, and vitamin K to complete the puzzle. And when that happens, you don't just walk better. You sleep better. You move without fear. You rise from chairs without bracing yourself. You start to feel young, not in number, but in ability. So if you're feeling stiff, weak, or unsure on your feet, don't write it off as just aging. Investigate. Nourish. Take control. This isn't about vanity. It's about vitality. It's about standing tall, living unassisted, and dancing at your granddaughter's wedding because your legs are still willing to carry you. Because here's the secret that medicine has shown me time and again. Your strength never left you. It just needed to be invited back.